Remember, Pure Gold was at $1 billion market cap when they were up and in running. So we're today at $200 million. So that's a lot of upside as we move very close to production. And that was in a lot different gold prices at that time as well, Kerry. That was at a much lower, that was at a $1,500 gold price. So that upside in value as we move forward to production with a higher gold price gives a lot of leverage going forward to the company.
The Financial Survival Network. Now more than ever. The Financial Survival Network.
And welcome. This is Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Really, really excited to do this new sponsor interview with Shane Williams. Shane, you are CEO of West Red Lake Gold, and you've been in the news lately. You've got the Madsen project. In fact, as we speak just today, you released some really stellar drilling results. So I wasn't going to start with them, but when I saw the release today, I figured, let's talk about it. It's in the Madsen Mines, South Austin zone, and you really hit some high-grade gold there.
Yeah, great to be on, Kerry. I think key for us is that really this is the previous operator, which some of your listeners will know was Pure Gold, and they got into a lot of challenges on this mine, but they never really got into the heart of the ore body, and they never really uncovered the true value that underneath the covers effectively. And we're beginning now with the new approach to get in underground and drill, and we're getting some spectacular finds. And I think the market will slowly wake up to this ore body and go, wow, this is really something special. And today was a great press release. We've had over the last 4 months, people can go onto our website. We've had some really, really spectacular results, and they will continue. And so that's a good story coming out of this, that people will really see the potential of this mine as we go forward.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we kind of go over the history of the mine, your involvement, because the project has gotten a bad rap over the years under the prior management, and we don't need to slam them. Things happen. We had COVID. You had a lot of external factors, but in the end, the buck stops with management. So basically, this all came together. How did you get involved with the project?
Yeah, so mainly people will recognize Frank Giustra, obviously. Frank has a long history in building successful gold companies over the last 30 years. And to go back a little bit, some of your listeners will recognize this. Frank saw the setup for gold 2 or 3 years ago, potentially with all the spending, the inflation, the amount of money that's been spent. And that normally signals a good, strong gold market for gold. However, you got to be at the right time, and you got to get timing right, and it takes a lot of forward looking and a lot of ideas to go and make that decision. But he saw the setup for that gold and saw the potential to build a gold mining company in a rising gold price. And that's where you get real leverage to this. You can get a project, an exploration project in gold, but it'll never be in production. But we saw this opportunity as a way to get from into production in a rising gold market. So I went down and had a look at this project. We did an extensive due diligence on the project, really to understand what went wrong, what were the challenges. And again, I'm not going to get into all that, but COVID was a big factor. Every mine in the world was affected by COVID. They had just begun, what I saw very clearly is they just begun to get it right. They were just getting into right ore. They were getting an understanding of the ore body. I would say with another 6 months and another $20 million, they would have cracked it. They brought in some very good people. They had done it really well. And then COVID hit them, and that kind of killed them, the final straw that broke the camel's back. And so when I saw that, I saw, wow, these guys were ready to go. And I came back and I said to Frank, let's buy this. Let's go in and let's get this project. It's a great starter for building a company. And we negotiated, really with Frank's background, we negotiated a phenomenal deal, basically. And it was really, go back to the time, go back a year ago, a year and a half ago, gold was unheard of. Nobody cared about gold. It was dead. Investors, junior miners, you couldn't get money. So to make that decision and make that thing, now we look like geniuses, but it was just Frank and timing. Timing is very important in this goal game, as your listeners will know.
Timing is everything in life, and as the cliche, the Chinese character for crisis is composed of two characters: danger and opportunity. So where the danger lurks, the opportunity is present as well. And so it's permitted. You've got a pristine mill that I think that you mentioned they put $350 million into. That would probably cost you well over double to reconstruct that.
Yeah. There was a lot of infrastructure put in place. There was a mill, there was shit tailings in place, the shaft was put in place, underground development, equipment, everything you really need to build a mine. And look, I've been building mines for 20 years, Kerry, successfully. And I've been through the process. It probably takes 10 years today to put a brand new gold mine into production. And at least, as I said, to put that scale in, 700 million. So, if we had to start today with a new deposit, it's probably 700 million and another 5 years to get in production. So when you see that sort of value it's really a value play as well. I like that because it's a value play. We got it so cheap. We bought it for like $6.5 million in cash. So when you think of that value sort of uncovered, and even another one for your listeners, with that came $270 million worth of tax losses. So you have the value of the infrastructure that's in place, but you also have value of tax losses, which are inherently valuable in themselves going forward. So,
oh yes, yeah. The fact I've been involved in tax loss deals before, and there's a lot of laws. And recovering attorney, a lot of laws and regulations governing that for you to actually be able to acquire the loss carry forward. So the fact that you did that right there makes this company a vehicle, because you're going to be producing, but it could well be other opportunities arise from that loss carry forward.
Exactly. That's the opportunity as we look down the road to potential M&A, new opportunities. Net tax loss is inherently valuable. And there was a couple of companies in Canada were just bought for the value of their tax losses alone, and that's a real value with the infrastructure we have. So look, $700 million worth of value bought for about $40 million all in. So that shows the value sort of structure. And we have all our permits in place. We're ready to go, basically.
Right. So couple of things. I heard end of 2025 for production.
It is realistic, yeah, because we're underground drilling at the moment. We're doing that drilling, like you said, we talked about earlier, that detailed drilling. These underground systems, you need to understand what you're doing. You need to be able to do them. You need to characterize them. And, it needs very fine drilling. It needs a lot of money. It needs drilling underground. But once that's in place, we don't need anything else. So, we're ready to go. So that's going to take us 12 months sort of timeline, 12 months to drill underground, do that work, and then ramp up starting in 25. So end of 25 is a very good target, to get into production. You think of that in production with a rising gold market that, we know where it is today. It could be a lot higher in the future. And, in a year and a half's time, gold is at a much higher rate. That gives you a lot of leverage to the company and the value on the company. We're doing another study the back half of this year, a pre-feasibility study, Harry, and just to give people the scale of the operation and get understanding. From the pure gold time, there was some early studies. There was never really a detailed study. So under West Red Lake, we're going to show, and I think when we put that together from an NPV characteristic, you really step up, because remember, there's no capital on a go-forward basis. So, you've no capital to go forward. You have a much higher gold price. So that really becomes a very attractive sort of project on a go-forward basis.
Yeah, it's interesting that it becomes a value play and a gold play. So, optionality-wise, it really gives you a lot of flexibility here.
Yeah, some investors love the gold story. Some investors love, hey, you got this for dirt cheap. We're going to get involved, because remember, Pure Gold was at $1 billion market cap when they were up and running. So we're today at $200 million. So that's a lot of upside as we move very close to production. And that was in a lot different gold prices at that time as well, Kerry. That was at a much lower, that was at a $1,500 gold price. So that upside in value as we move forward to production with a higher gold price gives a lot of leverage going forward to the company.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you mentioned as you were cleaning out the mill, getting it ready to restart, you made a pretty interesting discovery.
Yeah, one of the I've previous experience with these mills that in care and maintenance, and as you go into them, as people are running them, if they're running efficiently, there's a lot of gold tied up in the circuit in care and maintenance, and they never clean out these mills. And you know, with the right group and the right understanding and the right knowledge, you can go in and clean out these mills and understand them. And you can actually make a lot of gold. You can make gold discoveries that are tied up in the circuits and tied up in the system. And we decided to do that. And we've been very, very surprised on the amount of gold that's tied up in the system. Quite substantial. And we're working forward to really understand that. It's an ongoing process. But it just shows you when the new approach to our team, unlocking that value wherever we can in the project.
Yeah, and speaking of teams, you've got an extraordinary team on a number of levels, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's another exciting story. You know, we wanted to, you know, in the early years, in the last boom, as you remember, there was a lot of building of mines, a lot of value created. A lot of those people, unfortunately, are at the end of their career. You know, they're at the end of their careers is a good way of putting it. They're not going to be there to build, you know, building a mine, building a company takes a lot of work and effort over many years. So, you know, they're not going to be around to build the next company. However, they have a lot of valuable experience and they've been through it. So the right blend, I believe, which we created, was a very strong board who can guide, who can lead, give their experience, a very strong management team who have all done it before, but are young and hungry and ready to build a company. And you have the backing of the likes of Frank Giustra and his network. I think we have a fantastic combination, which, you know, with any asset can be very successful, you know, and also not just Madsen, to grow a company. The long-term value here is to grow a mid-tier company over the next number of years. That with Madsen as stage one of that.
I guess if the right opportunity came along and somebody wrote an extremely large check, you have to think about that, huh?
Well, that's the role, I think, as for our shareholders. If somebody did come along down that road, and you know, we don't know how the market will go. As you know, sometimes these gold markets go a bit crazy. There's a lot of M&A activity. And, you know, if that opportunity comes along, we will definitely look at it. And yes, we would be very excited about that sort of opportunity.
Shane, what do you think the biggest challenge ahead for you is to restart the mine?
I think it's getting the time and effort to understand that ore body. You know, that's really from a technical perspective where they failed. And, you know, this mine could probably be put back into production straight away, Gary. They were in production, you know, but we've decided with our approach to take a de-risking approach, step back, make sure we understand the ore body a lot better, do the drilling, take the time to understand it, and then restart. That's why it's, you know, it seems a short period of time, but remember, they were in production. So, you know, we have some money to spend, we have some time to take, but I think that's really for understanding the ore body, and that will allow us to move quickly into production.
Better to take a more cautious approach.
Yeah.
Which will pay off in the long run. So, like, as far as inflation, rising costs, obviously your capital costs are limited here. What are you seeing? Like, where are costs the most rising or rising fastest?
Yeah, one of the also the advantages that we picked this mine, as in Canada now, there's a lot of construction of mines ongoing. They're seeing huge cost overruns and cost blowouts, and, you know, everything's costing more. And so, you know, we don't really have that with the amount of capex has been on, but we are seeing operating costs as we go forward increasing. The cost for fuel, chemicals, you know, labor is increasing. So we are seeing some of that. We're lucky to be in Red Lake in Canada, where there's a long history of mining, a lot of people available. So that will mitigate some of that. And in a sense, we are lucky that we have 100 people on site now working. So we actually have actual costs to understand. And so, you know, a lot of these studies are done with feasibility numbers, and then it takes time to get the real costs. We have real costs. We understand them. And we can put those into our forecasts to make it much more accurate as we go forward.
Okay. So one of the challenges I see is finding the qualified miners. It's an aging profession. Hopefully there's some new blood coming in now that we see renewed interest in the sector. But there seems to be like a fixed pool of qualified miners, so you kind of get into a bidding war with them.
Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge in general for the industry, not just the miners itself, but for the engineers and the managers and that sort of level, key people. A key advantage of us is the Red Lake region of Canada, where we are, has been mining gold for hundreds and hundreds of years. So there's a lot of experience in the town. There's a Evolution have a large mine, which is the original Gold Cup, and there's 1,000 people working there. There's another mine close by. So there's a pool of people who live in the town, who are miners, who work in the town. So that also means there's suppliers in the town, there's service providers, so there's a lot of opportunity around that to bring in existing workers around that area. There's a talent pool available.
Well, that's fortunate with the infrastructure and the power is already there. So you really don't have a lot that you have to do to get this thing up and running, other than gaining the knowledge base necessary to maximize production.
Exactly. Once we do that, we're actually ready to switch it back on. And it's interesting for your listeners, and if you can go onto our website, which you probably did, there's fantastic pictures of the mill. And there's a great video there with Frank, and we brought Frank and investors up there, and there's the video. And you really see the quality of the infrastructure that's in place, and you get blown away by the value that's inherent in that development already.
Yeah, and you'll see that on the roll on this interview. We'll be covering all that, and it is quite impressive. And hey, one of the other things that you haven't had to deal with is raising the capital that was so challenging in the sector over the past years. And past couple of years, literally, there's scores of companies that are just kind of in a comatose state, not really doing anything.
Well, it's the advantage of all those advantages we talked about, and particularly a backing like Frank Giustra and his network. We've raised over $70 million in the last 8-9 months, and that's, I would say, like you, that's 70 more than most of the other companies in the scale. So it shows that people are interested, they like the story, they want to be part of it, they get the upside. They really understand that we have a team in place now that have done it before and can do it again. So we are attracting good capital. We are well capitalized, and we never really have an issue on attracting capital, which is very important for people when they're going into the space. And we have huge liquidity. Our stock prices, we have lots of liquidity every day. We're a very well-known name, and we've moved in, for some of your listeners, we were the second top performing stock on the TSXV last year. We got an award on the TSXV 50. So, we're getting that traction. We have the liquidity. We have a board. There's a lot to be very hopeful as we go forward.
Yeah, very exciting times, and we're looking forward to touching base with you in the months ahead and monitoring West Red Lake's progress towards the eventual restarting of the mine. I suggest everybody go over to westredlakegold.com, sign up for notifications, ticker symbols US WLRGF, in Canada WRLG. Shane, thanks so much for taking time out to speak with us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
The Financial Survival Network.